Okay, guys, so I'm once again honored to have Sean invite me up here to speak with you. My passion started years ago when I decided to go from myself to success through others. I decided to go from me to we. And today I want to take you on a journey of what that would be like for yourself, to imagine your success happening through other people along with yourself. And it happens in nearly every other industry that's out there. If you were to get into the legal industry, I'm sure, someone doesn't come in and become name partner day one. They actually start, they probably do some associate work, and then they build up and they grow. The same thing happens in real estate sales if you've structured it and you can structure a team the right way. So let me get into this a little bit. This is my Opus presentation that I've been working on for so long now. You guys are actually the pioneers of this. You'll hear the first one. This is Teams Exposed. The reason I wanted to call it Exposed is because there's a lot of people who don't like real estate teams and they get a really bad name. And then there's a lot of people who run real estate teams and they don't make any money. And teams have a really tough experience with being accepted in the industry. And I want to share with you a way as to how you can actually start, create, scale, and build a real estate team that is successful and that is profitable. So we kind of get into why we want to start real estate teams. Hopefully you guys can see this. The reason most of us probably want to start real estate teams is because we believe, just like anything else, that we want to scale and increase our income. The longer that you go out and you're just selling houses, it's good. You can get that income for yourself, but it's not really scalable. All of your time you're trading for dollars, which is great. But you see through success through others that nearly every business that's out there always uses the time of others in order to generate for yourself. I mean, think about that. That's how brokerages work, right? That's how brokerages function. They use the time of others in order to generate income for themselves. And so sometimes we think to ourselves, what would it be like if I was to start my own real estate team? The second reason we want to start a real estate team most of the time is for work-life balance. You'll hear examples of real estate agents who are always on the job. They go out and they have vacations, but they bring their laptops with them. They feel like they're on the airplane and they're sending text messages about what's going on, with their deals, and they never stop working. In fact, they pride themselves on it, right? It's like this noble badge that we wear, I'm always working. But that's not exactly what anyone else would think of in the real world as being like, that's good. Right? We would actually want to have vacations for ourselves. We'd want to have a life for ourselves that we could step away from and know that someone else is taking care of it. But we're going to break a few mindsets today, and we're going to lead you into leadership, and we're going to show you how to get long-term business growth. Because business growth in and of itself, as long as you operate on a singular basis, yeah, you can trust yourself forever, but eventually you're going to burn out. And so real estate team was the way that I decided to take it back in 2015. So this is me. Thanks again, Sean, for the intro. If you guys want to follow on Instagram, someone just asked me just before I told me I'd put that up there. Our team runs about $200 million in real estate sales volume every year. We practice in Connecticut primarily. We have a few agents who are licensed in Massachusetts, some in Rhode Island, and a couple in Florida as well. But we've been expanding and we've been able to scale simply because of this. A little bit about who I am. I am married. That's my wife, Molly. That's my son, Harvey, and my daughter, Shiloh. I'm a father of two. I love flying drones. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I posted some yesterday about that stuff. I love playing guitar, and I have a deep relationship with God. And so that's all a part of who I am, and you'll actually see it impacts our structure. So here's where we're going today. Now, I want to be clear about this. I have a number of areas that we can jump to over the course of this hour that we have together. If you want to, I am happy to pause and jump to one thing or another. But here's what I'd like to see, and then we'll get a little bit of feedback. I want to talk about why we start real estate teams, the actual definition of a real estate team, what it can be, when is the right time to start a real estate team. There's things you should do and not do, and when you should start them and not start them. Creating your own value proposition for a team. Why should people join you? What do they get when they're a part of your team? And then we have a review of the economic model. So if you've ever thought to yourself, what are the finances behind a real estate team? How do you actually make money with it? We can review those. I have full spreadsheets that are built so we can play around with them. We can mess around and say, hey, what would be more profitable? And we can walk through certain models like the 50-50 model, the override model, the scaled model. And then I can actually talk to you about how to attract and retain agents. Does that sound good? Awesome. Let me just pull a little bit here. How many people here have a real estate team? They run a real estate team. You run a real estate team, okay. How many want to start a real estate team? They want to start a real estate team a little bit, kind of thinking about it. And the rest of you, what are you doing here? No, I'm just kidding. You're just there for Sean Scott Bagels, so you're like, all right, I'll show up. And Johnny probably coerced you in order to show up here, so that's probably why. All right, let me get into why I decided I wanted to start real estate. There's never going to be a time when there's a bright shining light that comes down and says you're ready to start a real estate team. That's not going to happen. I thought it was that way. When I got started into real estate, I was doing about 10, 12, 30, and I got up to about 18 million solo, and I thought to myself, when is going to be my day? When am I going to get donned with this almighty authority to start a real estate team? And that never happened. In fact, I just was next to somebody who was always selling a whole ton of real estate. Her real estate team was killing it. And some girl comes up to me and was like, hey, we should start a real estate team. And I was like, all right. I had no idea what I was doing. I was part of Keller Williams. They had a great model. I'm going to show you some stuff on here. And I just started it. So I knew that I wanted to scale my business. I also knew that I wanted to invest my skills. Some of you have skills that are inside of you, maybe latent right now, that want to come out because you know that inside you're a leader. Inside you're a manager. Inside you've got leadership capacity, and you know that you can be more. And if you've ever been there in your life, then you know that just going out and helping buyers and sellers exercises a portion of that, but it really doesn't exercise as much of it. And if you've ever stepped into a leadership position before and those talents get awakened inside, you think to yourself, wow, maybe I not only get fired up about seeing somebody buy and sell a house, but I also get fired up about helping other people buy and sell houses. And if that's ever fired you up, then leadership in a real estate team might be helpful. The last one is something that's sustainable and has longevity. I want you to think, don't raise your hand, but how many people do you know of real estate agents who actually retired? Like really retired. Not just like called it in and dialed it in. I mean like really, like you see them on their boat, they're all the time, dude, I killed it for 20 years, I killed it for 25 years, and I'm retired, I got my pension. You don't really see that. Why? But it's this crazy lie that we all buy into that we're just going to sell. It's not sustainable. That's why you'll see real estate agents and they're like, hey man, I'm going to sell forever. It's not sustainable. All right, so what is a team? A team, and I'm going to stress this for a whole lot in the beginning of this presentation, is a different business than you running your own real estate sales business. It's a completely different business. You're selling something different. It is a platform for real estate agents too, and I'm going to give you the three. I want you to if you take notes, take a picture of this. If you want to start a real estate team, take this down. You want to help people compress the time of their success through training, support, and leads. Compress the time of their success through training, support, and leads. I don't know about you, but my first year in real estate, I sold $19,000. I made $19,000. Anyone beat me? I hope so. I hope all of you beat me. Yeah, 50. All right. So we're in the same camp. No embarrassment. Like literally none. My first year I sold $19,000. I have agents on my team who will make between $120,000 and $180,000 net cash to them. End of the day, first year in real estate. Why? Why is that valuable? Because I always ask the question, would you rather have 90% of a grape or half of a watermelon? Right? 90% of a grape or half of a watermelon. If I can compress the time of their success, instead of going 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and I can instantly give you this, then people are not going to worry about, ready? I want you to think of this as its own business platform. I will exchange some dollars and you give me what? You give me what, David? You give me the ability to compress the time of my success through your training, support, and leads. What else are we going to do? We're going to convert many expenses to a cost of sale. Who knows what the difference is between an expense and a cost of sale? An expense and a cost of sale. This gives me time to drink my coffee. What's the difference between an expense and a cost of sale?
Cost of sale is tied to revenue.
Cost of sale is tied to the milestone of a closing, of a transaction, of something that happens. An expense is like the rent here, right? So no matter what, Sean could do 1 billion loans or he could do 1 loan. But the rent is still the same, right? The only thing that would change that is like a restaurant lease or something like that. It goes up and down, right? That's it. Your expenses stay the same. If I sell 50 homes this month with my team or 5 homes, Chase Bank, who I have my mortgage with, who sold it, right? The mortgage payment is still the same. It is an expense. It's always going to happen for my business. And that happens in your business and that happens in your personal lives. Now the difference is a real estate team understands that there are people in stages of their career that would rather not have expenses and they'd rather have cost of sale. Let me give you an example. Who here does any referral fees, right? I pay out, I get a referral, I pay out, right? What would you pay? 20% for a referral? 25? It was really good, would you pay 30? Come on, you pay 30. Would you pay 35 if it was a baller referral? Would you pay 40?
Depends how baller.
Depends how. What's Zillow Flex charging these days? 35, 40%. Plus a fee to the team. Why? Because Zillow, for me, is an expense. I'm on a different plan. I'm on their market rate plan. And I spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month out of that. But what's easier? Spending that money when you really don't have anything coming in Q1? Or just doing a cost of sale on the back end and I'll pay a referral fee? Make sense? I'm exchanging something that it just comes out at the end of the transaction to something that's going to be ongoing no matter how much sales I make or little I make. Okay? Now, when you do that, there's obviously a benefit to whoever provides that service of taking on that expense, and that's the team. Here's the last one. This is not to be underrated. We all want to be around those who are like-minded. There's a reason that you're here in this room and that you partner with Shant. It's because you're growth-minded. Shant is growth-minded. He doesn't get on social media and he's like, kind of really sucks right now. The market's... He doesn't do that, right? He would attract people who are like-minded to that. He's always positive, always upbeat, always outgoing, which is what you are as well, which is why you're here in the room. A players and people who want to be on real estate teams, who are motivated, want to be around other like people. And being in offices, brokerages of any kind, I don't care if it's a big legacy office or some cloud-based brokers, doesn't matter where you're part of, people tend to attract and want to be around the same types of people. They generally want to. A players want to be around A players. C players want to be around C players. And people want to be around those same types of people. The business of a team, here's the business. I know you can probably barely see this. Ready? The business of a team is to recruit, retain, and grow real estate agents. What is a team not? This is what a team is not. Sorry, guys, I'm not sure you can see this on the bottom. It is not an extension of your real estate sales business. It's not an extension. This is where I see people fail so much. Why? Because they write their P&L. This is their profit and loss, is like, here's David Brooke and here's what he's selling. And then what they do is they say like, okay, David's funding a real estate team. It's not the same. They are two separate businesses. One is David Brooke, 1099 contractor with EXP. The other is Brooke team at EXP, and the value proposition, the expenses associated with it, and people paying us fees every time they close deals. Does that start to make sense? We can't go forward until that does, right? It's not an extension of my real estate business. It can't be. Otherwise, guess what I'm going to end up doing? What most real estate teams do. They fund their team by their own production. Right? They fund their team. Now, is there a period of time in which that's going to happen? You're going to transition? Yes, because if you were going to open up a restaurant today, you would simply go out, you'd invest your own money, and you'd spend your own time. You'd be the one working. But eventually, you're not the one who's cooking the dishes in that restaurant. The second thing I want to express is it is a people business. It is very much a people business. All you're doing is relating to human beings, relating to exactly what they need, and going back to making sure that you can compress the time of their success. While your real estate business helps buyers and sellers reach their goal, a real estate team needs to be completely focused on helping real estate agents reach their goal. Make sense? It's the difference between the two. Otherwise, you're not really doing much. Okay, so here's a tale of the team leader. I love visualizations. It just helps me learn. Here's the tale of the team leader. Here's your real estate salesman. This is how most people function. Okay, this is how most teams started. And this was like 20 years ago. So here's us. Pretend we own a coffee shop. And these are all the clients. And we can make an analogy to our own real estate sales business. We got tons of people who are waiting outside and they're trying to do business with us. This looks like in the spring market where we're doing a ton of business and we're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could take that next buyer, but there's no possible way. You ever been in the room? Yes? You ever been there? Okay, awesome. You're like, no, I need a buyer today. Yeah, no problem. Totally understandable. Call me for coaching. So the next thing is, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I've got a line out the door, and I'm trying to figure out how I can do it. I might as well pass it over to David, because at least he'll close it and he'll give me a referral fee. Have you ever thought this, yes or no? Yeah, that's what I think. I'll just do that. That's the natural progression of thoughts. But here's the problem that happens with it, or here's the thought that you think. You're like, well, at least I could grow my business. David will close the deal. I'll at least get a little bit of money. I won't lose the business because I hate turning business down, right? It stinks. You know, it's a rental or it's a lower end buy or whatever. Okay, at least I'll get some of my time back. I don't have to worry about that. Someone else is going to do the work. And maybe I can even replace myself. It sounds so good, right? It sounds good. But the fact is it doesn't really work. Okay? It doesn't work. So people think to themselves, here's what I'll do. I'll create a partnership model. Imagine this as two different coffee shops. Think of this. Every single 1099 contractor here, you're a 1099 contractor, and you're a 1099 contractor, and you're a 1099. They're all their own separate businesses. How funny would that be if we said to coffee shops, hey, you got a line out the door, and you got a line. We'll take both. We'll divide up coffee shop number one, and we'll send some of their customers to coffee shop number 2. We're going to do that. And we think to ourselves, oh, well, I'll work with someone like me. They'll serve the customers I can't. At least I'll make some money off the customers. And maybe we can back each other up. This is the partnership model and the origination of the real estate team. This is what originally started. And you'll see these duos that exist in real estate, right? You know the duos, right? They're all out there, and they end typically, most of the time, with a little bit of failure. Now, husband and wife teams don't apply. Don't worry about it. Customers shop, they go to shop 1. They pretend they go to shop 1. And you tell them to go to shop 2, but they really want to go to shop 1. That's what they went there for. They ask, they say, hey, I'm going to reach out to this David. And then this David passes him off to me. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, I got it. And sooner or later, guess who starts retaining the business? Well, I start retaining that business. The other thing is, too, is why would I pick this person to partner with me? They probably need a little bit extra business. They might not deliver the same customer experience. You'll see when I coach real estate teams and they say, hey, it fell apart, the partnership fell apart. Why? Because coffee shop number 1 did a really good job with their customer experience. And they said they would do a coffee shop number 2 with the same experience, but it never was. It never was the same experience. And so they end up losing them. Coffee shop number 1 also ends up managing coffee shop number 2. Right? Hey, I referred my cousin to you. They're like a third cousin, but like I just can't take them right now. They're a little further out. You don't mind taking them. We'll just kind of split it 50-50. No problem. But guess what? Cousin calls you because they need the help. And then you end up managing the transaction. And you agreed to split it 50-50, but then you end up doing all the work. It's the classic partnership failures. Shop number 2 ends up depending on shop number 1's business. This is the other part. If you start supplying this other coffee shop with all the customers that were originally from your basis, guess what this coffee shop stops doing? They stop advertising, they stop lead generating, they stop lead follow-up, and guess what they start doing? Hey, when's my next customer coming? When's my next one coming? And they start to depend on the team leader, or they start to depend on the original one for all the business. Does this sound familiar? Yeah, it's the first iteration of the the partnership model. Busted! It doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. So starting your team is your own business. This is a book that if you want to take a picture of this, it changed my life. It was an idea that basically separated every business into 3 categories. The 3 categories of running a business was the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. The technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. I'll give you an example of this. If someone who loves coffee and was a barista and had a passion for it, became a master roaster, they express their desire in coffee. They are a technician. They know how to make coffee. They know how to pour coffee. They maybe even learn how to roast coffee. Okay? But it's a different skill set than a manager. A manager of a coffee shop knows everything that's coming in, all of the milk, all of the, what needs to get cleaned, the servicing the AC units. That's a manager. It's a different skill set. Then the entrepreneur is, hey, there's not a coffee shop in this area around and people seem to want this experience. I'm going to invest time and energy. I'm going to put a manager. I'm going to find a really good technician and I'm going to put them all in place. And that's the entrepreneur. But the issue that most of the time happens is technicians, people who are good at a job, want to be the entrepreneur. And it's the same thing that happens in the sales business. Real estate agents are like, oh, I want to be a team leader, but it's a completely different business. And that's why most of the time these businesses fail, because they are a different model altogether. All right, so let me get into the first iteration of what the real estate team was eventually proposed by. This is by Gary Keller. This is the 7 levels of a team and how this actually starts to work, who your first hire is, who you're supposed to bring onto your team. I'm going to go through this and I'm going to make some suggestions as well. I'm going to break apart some of these models so you can figure out, hey, what would be good for you if you wanted to start a real estate team. The first iteration, this 7th level, is a goal and a pathway for someone to start as a real estate agent and eventually grow their career to the point where they are no longer selling real estate. Does that sound fun? Yeah. It's funny how quick, when I talk to real estate agents, they want to get into the business and they want to get out of it as soon as possible. Why? Because it's exhausting, right? It actually is exhausting. We'd rather, otherwise, you'd be behind your computer all day loving the email and you'd make a lot of money. We all try to do that, but then we don't have the business. So we want to be a real estate agent, but just not do everything that we do. So here's the first level, is just you doing it by yourself with no leverage at all. You're just kind of rolling solo. Second level is you get one administrator or one administrative assistant. Now here's where, if you're taking notes, I'm going to tell you there's a couple of different options in my mind of what you can do, and it's later on in the presentation. Having an administrative assistant does not necessarily mean they are an executive assistant. It doesn't mean that they're a TC or an LC, meaning transaction coordinator or listing coordinator. It could also mean that they are an inside salesperson for you. It's someone who's behind the desk accelerating to try to get the agent, and here's the key to this, more sales. That's the goal of it. The goal of the administrative assistant is not just to make your life easier. It's to get you, as their agent, more sales. Why is that? Talk with me. Why would that be? Why isn't it just do paperwork for me because I hate paperwork? Why does that fail?
They're not there to make you money.
Yes. And these guys aren't free. All you did was just make your life easier. So unless you replace the task with the one thing that you can do that they are taking the time away from you to do, you will only lose more money. I'm going to share with you, by the end of this presentation, you're going to be like, profit is my focus. Profit is my focus on this. Okay, the third level of this actually still doesn't bring in a real estate agent. There's no other real estate agent. There's no other coffee shop that enters into this. The third level is another administrator. What does that look like? Why would I need 2 administrators?
Have one solely focused on inside sales.
It's a great suggestion. Somebody else. Someone's focused on inside sales. What sort of tasks do they do? Because I pulled the room, and a lot of you are like, some are starting real estate teams, so we should spend a little bit of time here. What do they do?
Marketing. Well, I can share. I have a
Sure.
TC/listings manager.
Smart.
Okay. I am a husband and wife team.
Yeah.
So I'm doing listings. My husband's working with buyers.
Cool.
We have a showing agent. But the
Very
second
smart.
admin I just hired
Yep.
is an EA,
Yes.
and her job is to free up my time
Yep.
to grow my team and find agents. And,
Chef's kiss.
And I'm in production, so I've got to do both.
You're in a messy middle.
I'm scared, but I
Yeah.
know that I need that second admin.
Yep.
Because as business grows, that TC listings manager gets busier,
Yeah.
right? So managing my VA and marketing and all the other things we do.
Correct.
Lands on me as CEO.
That's
So I
right.
need a second hand to take on all that email, calendar, all that stuff.
Replacing it with a dollar-producing activity.
Correct.
Awesome. Love it. Something else. What else could you do? Other administrative tasks here. Inside sales can be one. So they're feeding. So think of, some of you have databases that are 200, 300, 500. Some of you have databases that are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And there's no possible way that you can work through those. And the opportunity is to have one of those administrators actually run through, either licensed or unlicensed, to do marketing for you. Hey, we're going to do a deal of the week. I need you to prepare something for that. Send it for me for approval. Hey, I need you to do some social media for me. I need you to do another mailer. I need you to do everything outbound sales. The other side is transaction management. Now, the reason that we want to do this up front is because we want to provide something that's very attractive for other real estate agents to be a part of. Does that make sense? I got to get something that's so attractive that if David goes to me, he's like, all right, man, I'm on my own right now. I got my own business. It would be attractive. Imagine if I just brought David on in the back. Here's that partnership model. I got a lot of business. I want to bring on another real estate agent. I just bring on. What happens when my business slows down? Where does David go? Peace. Right? Because all he was there for was just whatever I was handing him for. Otherwise, he's just going to do his own business. And he's not going to want to give me a chair because am I taking anything off his plate? No. Am I doing his marketing for him? No. Am I helping him grow personally and professionally? No. So it doesn't matter. If I bring on that real estate agent right away, I'm going to have a problem. I need to create something that when I share the value proposition, here's my team. Don't worry about my personal business. When I share with you my team, my value prop, you're like, wow, that's really good. And then what we're going to do, I need you to catch this. What is that worth? What is that worth? And I'm going to share with you that at the start, that value spectrum all determines, just like a car or anything else, as to what you're providing. If you want to provide a BMW, you're going to get BMW rates. You want to provide a Ferrari, you're going to get Ferrari rates. You want to provide a Kia, you're going to get Kia rates for team agents and what of their compensation they're going to give to you. Start to make sense? What you develop here has everything to do with that next real estate agent that you bring on. Yeah?
Question for you. How
Yep.
do you feel about like a marketing intern?
Good question. I am huge on VAs, like really big on VAs, okay? The reason that I do that is because I have a simple process. There's a difference between those coffee shops that you saw up here. Those look like the cute little ones that like mom and pop run. What's the difference between that and Starbucks? Starbucks has a process that is like done well, done right, done every time. And that's what I'm running and guaranteeing for my team. If they don't get that, that's the reason that they're partnering with me. They're getting something done well every time. If I just have something that's like myself, no, not so great. But what do I think about marketing? 100%, it's great. Anything that's going to drive business to here, all you want to focus on is this person as productive as possible and building it in, because you're the investment to start the real estate team. You're the investment. Otherwise, you're going to need a check for like 150 to 200 grand to start a real estate team. Just like if I wanted to start a coffee shop, I can't start it for free. I need to get the money somewhere. This is the money. Now, the reason that most of the time this doesn't work is because you're running your own business. You're making $12,000 a month. Your home budget is $10,000 a month. You got $2,000 to spend. You can't start a real estate team. You can't start a real estate team. You need to have enough budget here so that you can bring on something that's extremely attractive. I feel like we're connecting a little bit. Any questions before we move on? This is so important because that's where most are in the room here. You're right at this stage. Yeah, please, yeah.
So I know you paid leads. Are you going to talk about that? Because
Yes.
that's one piece that
Yep.
when you're smaller and you may not need that because your business is pillars that are not paid
Yeah,
leads.
totally.
Where does that enter the picture?
Yep.
as Level 3 gets developed.
100%. So guys, towards the end of this, I'm going to tell you, if you're really interested in this, I'm going to show you the spreadsheets. I'm going to show you P&Ls, how to actually run this, how much to put into paid leads. If it's all about, just stick around, okay? Drink some coffee. All right, so here we go. We're going to go from, if you're tuned out, tune back in, okay? You're like, I just wanted to sell another house this week, not this. All right, eventually it kind of moves over to this. Here we go. Here's fourth level. Now you bring in your first person. Now this is Gary Keller's model. I'll tell you, I love Gary Keller. I was in Gary's top 100 when I was at Keller Williams, and love what he's done for the industry. Amazing stuff. My personal opinion, and I think as things develop and just move and grow and adapt, is that this model has changed over time. Okay, other people have found it. I don't only believe in people only working with buyers or only working with sellers. You can do whatever you want, guys. Okay, do whatever you want. Get your reason behind it. But in this model, they bring on a buyer specialist, someone who handles buyers. Now, why is that? It's because buyers just take more time than sellers. That's it. It's all about your time management. And so the idea here is if you can bring on someone else who can take on the majority of that work of your buyer time, then you're going to be able to obviously bring in more. Now, the key here is this. The buyer specialist is not taking the agent's buyers. Does that make sense? You're not trying to take them. They could take a little bit, but they can't take a whole lot. And I'm going to show you in a second, I'll show you a little bit later on, my model called the showing partner model. And the showing partner model is, it's been a huge blessing to us because as you transition out of production, people don't stop calling you, right? Like I've been doing this for 15 years. People aren't like, oh, David's, he's running a real estate team now. I guess we'll just call somebody else or we'll call somebody else on his team. They call me. So how do you maintain that all together? I'll show you how to do it. Eventually you start bringing on other agents, seller specialists, and you start building out the real estate team from there. But what's keeping them there? What's keeping them there? It's that support system. The support system is the reason that they're staying there. Not just because, you've been in the business a long time, etc. Eventually they ask that, you build an administrative manager. We have one of those. And then eventually here's 7th level, right? 7th level says, it's me and, I've got a manager and my manager runs my whole company and I don't need to do anything and I get to just collect big checks. And we all believed and swallowed that lie years ago. In some of the big rooms. So, I love Gary's add-on here. He says, you don't need to predetermine which level you'll ultimately achieve. The key is to master the level that you're on and then let that set the foundation for the possibility of moving forward or on to the next stage. Trying to skip levels or move too quickly through them may set the stage for burnout or backsliding. And it's possible. I've seen so many teams. How many of you guys have seen teams that have grown and then collapsed, all the time? And it's simply for these reasons of you haven't not created something where the value is there. So the guy thinks, yeah, maybe I should do this. Here's my little funny. It's fool. Don't do this. Get going. So let me give you a couple lessons. Hopefully you can see this. Lesson number 1, in order to scale, we must have a replicable process. In order to scale, we must have a replicable process. It needs to be the same, done right, done well, done every time. And that's replicable. Thank you, Edmund. No, I'm just kidding. This is me. This is all me. Lesson number 2, each level of growth requires a greater level of leadership and skill, a greater level of you. It's easy when everything depends on you and it all rises and falls on you. That's so easy. But when it's others who are involved, that's the next level of leadership. Lesson number 3, in order to sustain, we must create organizations that provide a world large enough for others to build their own worlds inside of. We must create something large enough that someone else can say, I want to create my own world inside of David's world. Let me give you an example of that. Why do people eventually leave real estate teams? Why do people leave real estate teams? Aside from the whole fact of I'm not getting anything from it. Right? Ceiling. Give me an example. What would be a ceiling?
Outlasted the growth that you could achieve in the team.
Yeah? And what could be that next level? What could they do outside of the team that they couldn't do inside of a team?
Start their own team.
There it is. I ran into that 6 years ago in my real estate team, 5 years ago in my real estate team. I was growing agents. I had developed a really clear and simple process to grow a real estate agent to $100,000 in a year. But once you learn how to fill out the contract, you know how to generate your own leads, you know how to deal doctor your own deals. Why am I here? Right? Why am I here? And otherwise you feel like you're building this business on a house of cards that's constantly having these people leave and come in, leave and come in, leave and come in. And it's frustrating. You'll get coaches out there that are like, you got to find the right person. We need to get the right personality fit. If we get them right, then they'll never leave. That's not true. That's not true. I've had all the different personality types on my team. I just needed to create a world large enough that someone else could build their world inside of it. And so I've created a model in which people can start their own squad, or you want to call them mini teams, inside of the teams and be bonused off of that team structure. And as long as you've got enough meat on the bone, that's something that's possible to do. So that's a great example of why people leave real estate teams and some of the ways that we can kind of work around it through the value. Here's another lesson. In order to grow your tribe, the tribe must see the opportunity to stay being greater than the opportunity to leave. The opportunity to stay greater than the opportunity to leave. You know what most brokerages bank on is they bank on the pain of leaving being greater than the pain of staying. That's not a way you run a real estate team. The pain of leaving, how do they make that? Oh, I'm going to sign you contracts. I'm going to give you bonuses that you're locked into. I'm going to make you, really hellish if you leave. I'm going to take all your contact. That's the pain of leaving. But the value of staying somewhere being greater than leaving, that's something I'm going to help you learn how to establish. Another lesson. People will join you and leave you for the same reason. People will join you and leave you for the same reason. I learned this one a long time ago with leads. Back in 2021, who remembers those days if it was like you just could pick up the phone every day and just sell a house? It was awesome, right? We were approaching 700 houses a year. It's amazing, right? I had guys who were just like teachers and they were like, I'm selling houses after I get out of school. It was awesome. But what we offered in that time is our phone was ringing so much, I was like, I just need bodies in order to get in here. I'll give you leads, I'll give you leads, I'll give you leads. Well, what happened by middle of 22, right? Those interest rates started ticking up. Inventory started getting way low. And all of a sudden the leads started quieting down. And now we didn't have the leads. People will join you and leave you for the same reasons. They didn't do it. I didn't have anything else. I was just saying, hey, I'm going to give you leads, Tina. And when I didn't have the leads, guess what Tina did? I'm out. I'm out. Yeah, 100%. Another lesson, the business that is focused on breathing revenue rather than profit will soon choke. The business that is focused on breathing revenue rather than profit will soon choke. The reason that I put this up here is because I made a mistake years ago, and I told you, in some of my reels as to why you're here today, that I would share with you some of my mistakes. I was obsessed, and I had become obsessed, just like many real estate agents do, with the number of units that we sell and the volume that we sell, right? It makes us feel good, right? I sold this much. I look this way. Here's my brand. That's why we get obsessed with like certain brands and everything else. And I was so busy trying to drive revenue to my business, but I was spending it just as fast. I was spending it just as fast on the mailers. I was spending it on the magazines. I was spending it on agent splits. I was spending it on everything. And although my revenue, people would pat my back, good job, dude. You're in Gary's top 1%. Great job. I was barely making any money. It's barely making any money. There was an interesting stat that NAR put out that said that 85% of the top 1% of realtors are behind on their taxes. And the reason is there's so much vanity in this business. We're an image-based business here. There's a reason, obviously, I respect you and care about myself, so I dress up. But there's a reason that, I'm not here in just board shorts and hanging out, right? Like, we have so much image that's associated to us because we believe that's tied to our success. Lesson, buyers, sellers, and agents are all attracted to leadership. They will join and leave accordingly. They will join and lead accordingly. Your level of leadership and how you grow depends on that. All right. Are we okay if we start getting into some economics? Start to see different models that you could choose to run your own real estate team? All right, cool. Let's go. Any questions before I move on? I know that's a broad statement, but any questions on the whole idea? What I want you to walk away with from that first segment of the training is just simply this. Your sales business and your real estate team are two separate businesses. The way that you run this business is you're building something that's so attractive that tells people that you're going to compress the time of their success faster being a part of you than not being a part of you. All right? Here's the economic model. The first thing that we're going to do, guys, is we're going to build our value exchange. It's basically an offer. And then we're going to build our economic values and our core values, okay? Economic model and our core values. What's a value exchange? It's an offer, okay? Most of us as real estate team leaders, we fail by not creating an offer. Here's my offer, ready? You will earn $100,000 in real estate in your first year of your money back. Is that an offer? Or your home sold guaranteed. Is that an offer? Or your money back? Or I will sell your house for, X amount or my commission's free. That's an offer. Most real estate teams do not have an offer. They're like, we're really freaking cool, right? Like, it's a lot of fun here. We do pizzas, lots of drinks. This is good. Right? That's not an offer. Okay? That's the thing. So what should I charge agents? All right, so here's the normal point of view. Agents believe that the cost of being on a team is greater than the value. But if we can create a value that's higher than the costs, then we'll possibly retain. Here's my model. My model is, I'll share with you, and I'm going to show you exactly what my model is. My model is 50-50 that you split with me to $5 million in volume annually, that resets annually. After that, you go to 80-20. Resets every single year. Okay? That's my model. Now,
Sorry, do you do that on their anniversary or do you do that every
On their anniversary. On their anniversary. Yep. It's a lot of headaches. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. 50 to 5 million. Yep. I'm going to share with you. We're going to get into numbers, and you guys are going to be like, holy crap, this is how this works? Okay, cool. We've created this value. Why would I split 5 million? Because initially they're going to see like, okay, I get to be with David Brooke. He's going to sit down with me and draft my business plan. The guy probably knows what he's doing. He's got a whole online university that he gives me when I join his company. I get private coaching with him. Sounds really good. But then as soon as you learn how to fill out that purchase contract, you get some leads for yourself and your brother and sister and mom start buying houses from you, and you give me 50%. Do you feel good?
No.
Why?
You feel like you're losing money.
Yeah, you feel like you're losing money.
You're giving it up.
There you go. You feel like you're giving it up. So I have to create a value that's greater. So here's my commitment. This is back to your leads comment on here. I buy just enough leads, and I literally tailor this down on the weekly basis. Okay? Enough leads for you to close on an average closing and conversion ratio, for you to make at least 5 million or more in closings, GCI I should say, or volume, annually, every single year from my systems. 5 million or more. Preferably, I tell my guys to try to get it to 10. Why? Then I can easily show someone, you will literally be on this team, and your 50-50 splits would essentially be from business that you wouldn't have had yourself anyways. Make sense? And you can get 80-20 the whole rest of the way. Sound good? Oh, okay, fine, we're good with that. Plus you get, and then you list all the other stuff that you give them, right? That kind of keeps them in the environment. That keeps them there. But the value has to outweigh the costs. So what we want to do is we want to reverse engineer where we want to be. So if you want to start a real estate team, you could do this. You could do this as soon as you reach 8 million. I'm going to show you when you need to start, exactly how much you pay your admin, all that stuff. I'll walk it through. Keep drinking coffee. But you can either sell a $1,000 product 1,000 times to make $1 million. Or you could sell a $10,000 product 100 times to make $1 million. Okay, I want you to sit there and think about that for your brain. What would you pay $1,000 for? And what would you pay $10,000 for? What would you pay $1,000 for? What would you pay $10,000 for? Y'all know brokerages out there who taking this much a year. Right? We're going to give you nothing. We're going to give you a broker. Nothing wrong with that. Sorry. There might be somebody here. Right? We're going to give you nothing. We're going to give you a broker. That's all you're going to give us. But they don't have to give me anything. Their model is, I'm just going to do it 1,000 times. We'll make $1 million. Then there's teams like mine, which are like, oh, I'm going to sell a product. My product, my average, what we earn, $62,500 per agent. Times however many agents we have. Through a process every single time. Start to make sense? I want to reverse engineer. Why is this important? Because if you're thinking to yourself, I want to start a real estate team, you have to ask yourself, well, what product am I going to sell? Am I going to sell the baller places? I got 4,000 square foot offices. I have creative directors, beautiful ones, right? There he is, right? I have all of this media that's happening 24/7. You have podcast studios. You have the best tech products in the world like Infinity or whatever it is that you could possibly need on my team. But you're going to pay 50-50. I don't care if you're doing $20 million or more in revenue, you're still going to pay 50-50 to $5 million, and at $5 million, you're going to go to 80-20. Does that make sense? It's a very different product. If you just want to be like, hey man, you can hang around me all day long, that's how you can attract people, and they're not going to leave you. Because your cost and value exchange. Go ahead.
Can you restate what you said about their business, the leads, 50-50, all day long? It sounds good. You said that really fast.
The leads all day. Oh, every sale is 50-50, up to a limit of 5 million in volume. At 5 million in volume, they go to 80-20.
Okay, why do all my I have business from my sphere of influence and
You
my
are.
past clients.
Yep.
You touched on that.
Yep.
That's all at 50-50?
It is, all of it. Yep. So the difference is here is that we're going to add to your business, and we're going to take away off of your plate all of the things that are hampering you from doing the things that you truly want.
And how are you adding to my business?
By our leads that we give you.
Thank you.
Make sense?
Yep, you said
Yep.
that.
Yep. We're bringing that in. So what you want to think is all the business that we're going to give you is at least $5 million worth of business. That's at the 50-50. Everything else you can imagine for yourself is at 80-20. Your grandma's house might be at 50-50 because it closed in January, but also the great lead that I gave you at, that's $800,000 or $1 million, that's at 80-20, right at the end of the year. Just depends on where it is that you fall within the cap. All right, here it is. You can take a picture of this. Denzel's going to email something out. It's going to be a gift to you guys by the end of it. This is all the reasons people join brokerages, and what I want you to do is think to yourself, what are the reasons that people would join my team? These are the top 20. The top 20 of why people join brokerages and teams. Culture, community, training, security, brand recognition. The value proposition for you that you're going to get the opportunity for today is to be able to fill in your own. It's an awesome little deliverable that we've got for you guys as a gift today. And you can fill in, what is the community like on my team? What is the training like on my team? What do I offer at the various stages? What's my availability like? What's my transparency of my company's financials like? What's my systems like? And we build that out for you. So I'm going to get you, we're going to start really diving in now. We're going to show you how the teams solve on the micro level what the brokerages cannot do at the macro level. Here's the 3 things that most agents need. They need training, they need support, and they need leads. Amen, right? Yeah. Amen. They need training, they need support, and they need leads. And they all scale depending on the level of production of the agent. I'll say that again. I have agents who are on my team and have been on my team, 25, 26, $27 million producers, paying 50-50 to $5 million. At $5 million, they go to 80-20. No problem. Why? Because at every level, whether that's emerging, established, or excellent agents, they all have different needs for training, support, and leads. Let me give you an example of that. Do you think that it's important to learn how to fill out a purchase contract? Of course, but that's only so long. But do you also need help setting up automations inside of your systems? Yeah. Do you think that normal $15 million producers running with their head cut off need to learn that? Yeah, but should they do it? No. So what do they now need? Does that make sense? Hey, but I've got all my business from my sphere of influence. You do. But have you ever seen somebody's production just die out in an afternoon, right? Because it happens at, I don't know, it's just the market went soft. That's why providing the leads is important at different stages as well, helping them break into new markets. That's what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to skip some of this stuff. I'm going to get you into, this is our comparison model, and you might want to build one of these for yourself if you're trying to start a real estate team. This is one of the ones that we do. This is 3 pages long. It's our team, most teams, and a solo agent. Our team, most teams, and a solo agent. So someone can sit down with me and look at this and be like, okay, he's got 80-20 splits. He's got badass office space. He's got multi-state presence, right? We can walk through all these. Support your own personal brand. We let them actually build it. These are all the questions that a solo single agent is going to ask and the reasons why they wouldn't want to join a real estate team. I don't want to join David's real estate team because, you know what? Then I got to put David's logo on everything. I got to put David's logo on everything. We're okay with you making your own little logo and putting it down. You can do that here and you can do that solo, but most teams don't allow it. So that compares. Then I go into support. We have an inside sales department, showing assistants, access to these industry professionals, the top ones, on-demand offer writing assistants. My agents don't have to write their offers. They literally click on a button inside of our Slack channels, type in all the details of it, and hit send. Within an hour, it's already produced, all the disclosures, all the signature lines. It's already in. They just review it and hit send to their client. So if they're out on showings, boom. Okay, we got in-house appraisal support, deal doctoring, in-house legal, lending, and inspection support, comprehensive agent onboarding. I have a 500-step onboarding program with over 500 videos for people on how to learn the basics of real estate and then some of the next level stuff of real estate. I put it all down. Does it make it really clear that I've got a clear value proposition for people? Awesome. Now, you don't need to build this today, but why I gave you that and why we're going to give you the deliverable is so you can start down that process of what you're going to build. Okay? Next, we're going to define your economic model. Now, here are some of the top models that are out there. Please, this is a good one to take a picture of, to decide what you want to do, and then we're going to pop into Excel, and I'm going to show you some of the models and how you can make some money as a team leader. The fixed model, I gave you an example. It's 50-50 forever. There's a guy in my state. He does this. He runs a playbook. It's 50-50 forever. It doesn't matter what you do. He's never going to change. And that's his model. There's good stuff to it. There's bad stuff to it, right? The good stuff to it, he makes a lot of money. The hard stuff to it, it's a revolving door. right? You're constantly bringing people in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Here's the graduated model. You guys have probably heard about this. I know some brokerages around here, maybe even down the hall. Here's your split at this production, and then you go to this production, depending on how much you've done, and then you go to this production, however much you've done, right? That's the scale. That's the graduated model. I've got these all built out so you can see them. Here's the override model. Anyone a part of Compass here? Compass? Anyone a part of Coldwell Banker? No? Any of the legacy stuff? Yeah. So you guys have models. This is a really common one. It's the override model. That's, my team leader is at 80%, 85, 90%. Everyone else is at, we're going to decide whatever their split is, and then you get the delta in between. Right? That's called the override model. Then there's the source-based model. That's what happens if the lead comes from maybe my sphere of influence, or maybe it comes from the ISA department, or maybe it comes from online leads. They might be different depending as to where they come from. You can build your business based upon that. If you have a lot of people who are doing, like she said, oh man, all my business comes from sphere of influence, you might want to do something super strong like this right out at the start, so that people are making good money on their sphere and you're only getting a little piece, but then everything that you give them is at a 50-50 rate. And the last one, this is the one that I do. This is called the scaling model. You can make it up whatever you want to. 50-50 until a certain amount, and then 80-20 afterwards, or whatever. You can mess around with it. So cool. All right, you guys ready to see some economic models so you can play around with? Okay, cool. I like that. Any questions as I'm changing over to this? No?
Have you ever transitioned an agent into like a supportive role?
Into a what?
Like a supportive role?
Yeah, him. Denzel is still a fantastic agent, super personable with people. It's just that you'll start to find out, and why you might even be in the room today is because you've got skill sets that are maybe latent inside of you that's like, I know I can do more. I know I can do something else with my skills. I know that I've got gifts inside and talents inside given by God in order to do something great in the world. And for him, if you follow our social media, it's like the best stuff that's out there. It's not because of me. It's because of that guy 100%. He's the one, right? He is the whole entire reason why we have our social media presence the way that we do. So he just decided to develop from being a real estate agent into being a creative marketing director. So, all right, this is a little small, but we're going to get into it. This is the teams exposed. This is the first one of the flat agent split, okay? So let me give you the example here. Hopefully you guys can see this. And a little blurry when he gets his flat screens. Sean actually spent some money on us. No. So here's 50-50. Here's 50 transactions. I've just did for 10 agents, okay? Or excuse me, 5 agents doing 10 each. That's it. 500K, 2.5% average commission rate, $12,500 gross commission income, $625,000. Now I want to be clear. Is the team leader on this?
No.
Why? It's a separate business. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Now in this model, here's the team leader split. Here's what the brokerage is taking home. And here's the team revenue from it. Okay? Here's the team revenue. Now here's how it works over on this side. Here's their transaction. Here's the GCI, the total gross commission income. The agent, what you can edit over here, this is what the agent's going to get. 50%. 50%. The team leader, what's the team leader split? 90. So what's the delta? 40. If that's true, then their take home, the agent takes home $62,500 at 5 million GCI, 5 million volume, and the team takes home $50,000 off of every agent. Okay? That means that now the team has $250,000 to do what, my friends? What do they have to do? Thank you. Man, you guys are smart. You got to buy support, training, support, and leads. Now, how much can I afford to do that? I got to take some profit for myself, right? Because it's its own business. So I might take 20% off the top of that. Maybe I take, whatever, $50,000 off the top. Now I got 200 grand to work with. I need, at this point, how many assistants? Yes, why 2? Yeah, correct. Thank you. You guys are listening. This is awesome. So now I got 200 grand to buy 2 assistants to help, plus what else? Leads, any other systems that I'm building on my CRM and all this stuff. Don't worry, I'll get to it, guys. At the end of this, I'll show you. Here's a Here's just a quick, hold on one second, I'll show you this. Here's the rough and dirty that we'll get to right at the end. Here's the, oh, my apologies. Here's a rough P&L. This is what you could, oh gosh, this is really blurry. Sorry about that, guys. Marketing, advertising, Google advertising, coaching, leasing, build out space, insurance, liability, payroll, taxes, right? You got to pay through all of this. All of this when you start to run a team. Office supplies, interest on debt service. You're going to travel. You guys are going to go to KW Mega Camp. You're going to go to EXP, whatever they do, right? Your dues and subscriptions, your new computer for your admin that broke, Outlook crashed and you got to spend a whole bunch of money. Everything. Video, photography, staging, virtual assistant, it all adds up like crazy amounts, right? This was one of our budgets a few years ago. 1.9 million bucks, bro, to run a shop, okay? This is why most teams fail, is because this is what you're at. You're building your own separate business that none of this has to do with the team leader's production. And if you take the team leader's production in order to pay from it, who's losing? Team leader all day long. Team leader is losing all day long. Sean, how am I doing, dude? I think I'm way over time. Okay. Guys, are we crushing it, or are we? Yeah, we doing okay? Okay. So let me keep going on this. Let me keep going on this. That was the flat split model, with the override model. How many of you would say like your brokerage guys would take 50%? What are they normally going on these override models? Right? Team leaders at 90, and they're like, hey, we'll put you at 75. Right? We'll put you down there. Watch what happens, my friends. Watch what happens when you do this. Ready? 75, 75, 75. This is the boss's two friends, right? And they're at 80. The agents are making money, but look what the team's taking home. 18 grand, 12 grand on this side. Now what's the take home? The take home for the whole team was 80 grand. Can we run two assistants on that? Not good ones. Not good ones. Do you see how all of a sudden our value prop, what we wanted to offer, what we're trying to balance here, all collapses really quick? Guys, a little bit about me. I coach agents from a variety of production levels, and one of the first things that I do is, let me see your business plan. Let me see it. I don't have a business plan. Cool, let me see your calendar. It's a mess. Great, let me see your budget that you've got. I don't have that. I provide all that for our coaching clients, all of it. They get everything so they can see it. But most of the time when I pull up, I did this with another guy the other day. He does $35 million in sales. He's got a team, and he was like, I don't know what to do next. I ran the model. He was making $27,000 off of his team. He had 5 agents. It looks really good online, guys. It looks really good. But if you're running a model like this where you're charging literally next to nothing and the delta's so thin, you're only going backwards. You're only going backwards. Yeah?
So the admin that you have and the TC that you have, do you have them do everything for the team agents as well? Like
That's the move, right? The move becomes that. And what ends up happening is my sales business runs on its own. I just happen to benefit from a synergistic service of an LC and a TC. Make sense? Awesome. All right, let me show you 2 more models, and then Sean, just literally kick me off as soon as you're ready.
I'm not going to kick you off.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the source model. I mean, this is, if you really want to get down to it on how to build a real estate, this is the stuff, right? So here's the source, and what you can determine is how much am I going to give based upon a sphere deal? 80%? It's my grandma. I don't want to give you any money. 80%. But what about something that's a team-given one? 50% sounds right? Everyone's shaking their head. That feels right. But when you do that, here's the difference. Here's what the team took home. Instead of in the last model, the team took home 250 grand. What are they taking home in this model? 196. 196. Right? The team's trying to do it. Now, what might be the balance there? The balance there might be, well, you know what? I get to retain a lot more people. Because why they typically leave is I feel like the cost and the value don't situate really well with me. I'm doing all this on my own, and my split's really bad. Okay? So that's why they might not. One of the savers that you can add into a business is when you take on an inside salesperson, an ISA, everything from the ISA, no matter where you're at in your business, always is at 50-50. Always is at 50-50. Okay, so 196. So we make a little bit less if we're on the source-based model. Here's our model. This is a scaling model. You can, I go over this with clients doing our coaching programs. Cap volume limit. I'm saying, all right, cool. We're going to do a cap at $5 million. At $5 million, we're going to change your split. Under 5 million, you're at 50-50. But at over 5, I get to change it. Where are you going to go? Are you going to go to 60, 70, 80%? And then back down. I'll be really honest with you. I told you I'd share some vulnerability. At some points in my life, I wish to God that I hadn't made this 80 and I wish I had done 75. All day long. All day long. Those little percentages matter. I mean, think about grocery stores. They operate on such small margins. And even your business, if it's not operating, have a little bit of margin to it, you're going to be going backwards. All right, so in this model, though, check this out. We get to see who's capping and not capping. In this one, since I wanted to make all things alike, no one actually really, they reach the cap of the 5 million, but they don't get anything over the cap volume. Do you see that? They're not making any additional money. They're not making anything. They've never sold an additional house to sell it at 80%. Now, if we were to do that, and first of all, I want you to see what it is. Do you see the difference of my model down here? 281,000. It's better to incentivize your people with that and have that 50-50 where they see they can achieve an 80-20, so it feels like in their mind that they can get there. It's way better to do that than not. All right, let me go over here. Here's what happens if, let's say, this guy does 20, 30.
Do you factor it in based on the EXP cap model? Or did you just pull it out of the hat and you're like, okay, this is what I should do?
The 5 million?
Yeah, up to, and then 80-20.
Yeah, good question. I was at Keller Williams and my model was 4 million. So I did it 0 to 4 million, was 50-50. And then when I went to EXP, this is not a pitch for this. I ended up saving more money. I ended up doing the whatever, right? And so I adjusted mine to 5 million and it worked out better for the agent as well. So I was actually able to retain more money, okay? Yeah.
What's your agent retention rate from, like, you know, when you were at Keller Williams, were you doing a different, or you were doing this model, correct?
I was doing this model to 4 million.
Were you doing, have you tried other models, and are you seeing like a better retention rate with this model versus?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I've always done, so I used to just do 50-50 forever, right? That was like my model. And then I switched to 60-40 for Sphere and 50-50 from anything that was a part of the team. And then when I moved to the model, I went to my my operating principal, so the guy who's led the Keller Williams office. I said, well, why don't when they cap with the market center, they cap with my team, and that's when they shift up and they move to that 80-20 split. And that's where I got the idea from. And the reason is because I was seeing team agents who were literally selling 20, 30 houses a year, walking away with 100 grand at the end of it. And I was like, you can't do this. It's not going to last. And then they'd leave and they'd go to like some other broker shop that was giving them a better split, but they had never learned how to really fish on their own, and it just totally collapsed, right?
Are you absorbing the brokerage cap?
What's up?
Are you absorbing the brokerage cap?
No, they pay the brokerage cap. The brokerage cap, I told people I wouldn't talk about. Our brokerage cap is $4,000. So it's so minuscule in comparison to the overall picture. So anyways. Yep.
So what is the 62 versus 50?
Good question. Good question. Again, you guys are totally dismissed if you want to go. I know, like, I'll talk forever on this stuff, but I'm so passionate about it. If they're doing 20 deals at 500,000, they're doing 250K in GCI. That's 10 million in volume total. Under cap, meaning up to the limit of 5 million, that's their 5 million cap. And they'll pay in and they earn 62,000 and I earn 62,000. Does that make sense? Segment that off. That's everything that's under 5 million. I'm now making 62.5. Now on what's over that, they're making so much more money because they're on an 80-20 there. And I'm making so much less money because I'm on an 80-20. Thanks so much for coming. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, no worries, please. And then that shows the total agent revenue there versus their team revenue. Now what you can do, what really amplifies it, what we do is we compound 2 additional things on top of this. Number 1, we share with them how many leads that they're going to get from our system in order to close. We just line it up, some very basic things. Here's what your average closing rate is, etc., and show how much revenue they're going to earn in comparison to wherever they're at, so that I can give them straight cash on that. And then I do have one additional thing. If you sell a certain number, a certain volume number with our team, then you'll go to a permanent split on our team. We do that eventually, and that's helped retain agents for the long haul. Agents, because you asked the question, what's your retention rate? It used to be 3 to 3.5 years is the average time an agent will spend on a team. 3 to 3.5 years. After that, it's like, nope. We put that in place. Now we've got agents who have been with us 5, 6, 7 years.
How many people are on your team?
47. 47. Yep. Yep.
Do you have a minimum that I have to sell every year?
Good questions. Why don't we just do this? I'm like super over time. Thanks so much. So we'll just do some questions. And then if you guys have more questions about running a team, how to attract, drip campaigns that I use, calling things that I use in order to bring people in, all that sort of stuff, I'm happy to go over that with you, just privately, whatever. So your question was?
If they have a minimum to sell every year.
A minimum to sell, so team standards, yeah. So we do have a team agreement. Our team agreement states that they can either choose 2 directions. They can either be a part-time agent or a full-time agent, and the value of what they get changes. If they say I want to be a part-time agent, part-time in my mind is not the amount of time that you spend, it's what your results are. So that's 1 deal per month. If they do 2 deals a month, they're a full-time agent. Full-time agents get access to all the leads everywhere. Part-time agents only get 3 zip codes. Okay, so we do that. And then we do have that minimum. If they're not hitting any of those, we have accountability groups, we have weekly meetings and mentor stuff. All of that's present. If they're not hitting those metrics, they get 1 meeting, they get 60 days to get another property under contract. Second one, they only get 30 days. Third one, they're out. Yep. You had a question, then I'll wrap up.
You're actually perfect in time. We're good.
All right, sorry.
How do you distribute leads?
Good question. So I use a system called Follow Up Boss. It's a CRM. Most of them that are out there are pretty good. This one I feel like is one of the best. So I do it by geography first. So geography, so a lead that comes in, an agent has a higher probability. I don't know if you guys like work in Waltham or whatever it is, but
Everybody's all over.
everyone's all over. Yeah, so like if a lead came in and I live in Simsbury, Connecticut, if they were like, hey dude, can I see a property tonight at 5 o'clock? Like the probability of me showing that house versus like, hey, I gotta go to Glastonbury, which is 35 minutes away, great price point, awesome area. It's just so much higher because it's so local for me. I can always tell my spouse like, hey, I need like 30, 40 minutes to go show a property and back. Like this is a great house versus I need an hour and a half. Half an hour out, half an hour showing, half an hour back. So we do it by geography first, and then it redistributes. You can actually make rules inside of it, routing rules, to say you distribute based upon geography, and then it's round robin inside of those zip codes. So everything's fair that way. And the only other way that I don't do is I do not give $1 million lead plus to an agent who has not been on the team for at least a year, or produces at least 24 deals or more.
One question.
Yeah, what do you got?
You accept the new agent in your group?
Yeah.
I will move.
Yeah, no, so, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, that's the validation that, like, if you provide value, people will come, right? Like, if you show them a product that's, like, really, really good, then people will be interested in doing it. Because I can guarantee you're going to earn $100,000 in real estate within your first year if you follow the program. And yeah, so we accept new agents, but we do have in our team agreement, you need to put a property under contract within your first 60 days. And we do that on any great agreement that's out there. We'll always have both parties contributing, right? I believe that all parties need to contribute. Like I'm sure Sean has people who are, loan officers on his team. He's not like, I'm not just going to give you all of my people who send me deals. Like I'm not going to do that. Like you got to generate for yourself as well. And like that's only fair. It's like a family dinner. Like I would never go to my Italian family's dinner and like not bring something. You just always bring something. And so that's how we believe our team should run as well.
So that deal under agreement in the first 60 days is if their deal, they're not getting leads yet?
Yeah, so what you do is you have to pass your buyer consult with us, and that's when your time frame starts. So there's a huge onboarding program, and then you have to pass your buyer consult directly with a mentor or myself, which means that you can explain the market, you can explain the purchase contract, and you can explain agency to a high level. I push back. I usually don't pass people the first time. Once they can do that, that's when their time starts, and they get on leads. They get access to a full pond of 20,000 leads.
What's the role that you play in the company
I got a lot of roles, but the main one, the main one at this point is really providing a lot of the vision for where we're going. My coach his name is John Cheplack. Some of you guys might know who he is. I know Sean's coached with him, and John told me that my core competency is teaching people. That's it. And he's like, never get outside of that core competency. If you get outside of that core competency, then like you're asking someone else to do a job that you could do really, really well. So I'm just the teacher. So I show up and I teach people how to evaluate homes. I teach people how to use our technology. I teach people how to get their business in line, their finances in line.
But you're very hands-on still.
You know what, dude, we'll kind of wrap up with this. That 7th level model from Keller Williams, I am so grateful for because it set me down a path of where we are today. There's a little bit of, and I would say a slight, kink in the armor of the fact that like, I've never known a really great business owner who is never inside and leading his people and walking around. I've never known it. Like, if I'm building a program, I better know the code. If I'm doing real estate, I better know every person's name and what's going on in their life. I do leadership by walking around. And that's the way I run my company. And I think the idea that you can kind of like get out and have a manager just run everything sounds like super ideal. What you're really asking for under it all is you just want to break. That's it. You just want to break.
Well, I was more curious what your specific role was.
Yeah. So
It was growth, I just didn't know.
yeah, just a lot of trainings. So I do a lot of trainings. A lot of the content that I put out, Denzel helps me run that and put out a lot of videos and stuff. And now I'm actually moving in and like starting a new, just as I was like solo agent, starting that business, and then did the team start that business. Now we're kind of moving on doing other ancillary things that we bring in, and that's going to look like our coaching programs that we help agents. So cool, guys. Thank you so much. I know I went a long time with this, but hopefully this was helpful.
I mean, crushed it, right? Like that was just like, I'm sitting here thinking like, start off a Friday morning like this with the energy that he brought. Like David came here to bring it. Like, and I know that hopefully you guys think this is the perfect way to start Friday. This is our 3rd class in a row that we've had that like each speaker is just like annihilated it. So thank you for your time. One more round of applause. That was awesome.
Thank you, man.